You deserve to be happy.
Time heals all wounds.
Helpful?
Harmful.
Just because it's trending doesn't make it true. This season, we will hold up these trite sayings alongside truth.
We are your hosts, Susan Tyner
and Karen Hodge. You're listening to the Encourage Podcast. Well, if you're listening in, we're halfway through a series called Just Because It's Trending Doesn't Make It True, and you've made it halfway with us. Congratulations.
Yay, team.
Yay, team. And we have been hearing from you that whether you're using the screensavers on your phone or you're having a good conversation, especially I had a comment this week about across the generations about the language that we're using, why we use it, you know, how we can substitute those things for, things that are life-giving and truthful and helpful. It makes my day when I get a little text like that. How about you, Susan?
Oh, I'm telling you, someone would even take the time to text or email. Also got an email, and I'm just like, thank you, because I do feel like this one could go either way. They may encourage us, they may take us on about something. How dare you accuse my, cross-stitch framed thing that's not biblical, even when my grandmama made it for me. I mean, I get it. But yeah, thank y'all for all. I'm really happy when I hear it's connecting with people out there, because I love when Bible gets to people, and also it's just fun to do it with you, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are hoping that this podcast produces some, really sticky kind of truth, not necessarily plastic kind of truth like we're talking about. And so this week we're taking on, take time for yourself. You deserve it, or treat yourself.
That's right. Somehow I know this commercial had to do with like makeup, but I feel like that L'Oreal commercial when I was a little girl of like, and you deserve it, or something like that. Was that commercial?
I think she said you deserve it. Yes.
Oh yeah. It was either that or that. I don't know. I have a couple in my head that it could have been.
Well, whether that is explicit or implicit in a lot of the, commercial media that we are consuming, whether that's on, who watches a commercial anymore on TV, but maybe you're watching commercials.
That's true.
I know. Oh, because of streaming platforms, commercials have gone the wayside, except for maybe the Super Bowl this week. But then also we've been talking about how, in this current climate, people are their own expert on social media, whether it's the skincare product that they use or the clothes that they're curating in a wardrobe capsule, which somebody explained to me the other day. I'm like, what? I need somebody to put a capsule together for me, like we're matchy, where all the clothes
match. Your animals used to be.
Well, yeah, their animals used to be for adults. But the self-care industry, of the one that says you deserve it, you deserve to take time for yourself, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And there are products, there are podcasts, there are books that focus on physical, mental, and emotional well-being, which is a good thing to be a healthy human being, because God created us in a way that we get a chance to steward the mind and the body and the heart that He's given us. But the key lies in is, what is the motivation? Is it to optimize my life, or is it to glorify God? Maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is like many of the other sayings we're picking, that there is a kernel of truth in it. But as we know, the father of lies uses kernel of truth things that he then cocoons in something that's going to appeal to our selfish hearts. Just like with Eve, like it was not quite true, and it sounded true, and it appealed to her desire to be more than God had for her. So when I hear something like, especially, and from listening, I love therapy for people who need it, and it has been a great tool in my life. And I feel like there are a lot of Instagram kind of therapy-like people, And it, of course, I'm going to respond to the message of, oh, you don't have to go talk to your mother-in-law. Oh, you don't have to go to that family meeting, or you don't have to go to class today. You need to take care of you. And I think that we have stunted ourselves because there's never been a muscle to grow. It kind of ties into, I just want you to be happy. And there are some healthy boundaries. And also, God asks us to sacrifice. As we glorify God, that usually means giving up something, giving Him worship, giving Him money, and doing that for His people. So I don't know how I started all this, but yes, I think this is one of this, just like the others, this is something that has started off and the pendulum swing has gone in the total opposite direction. And we've heard it so long that it sounds legit. But when you compare it to scripture, I think it's not as legit.
Right. Yeah. And we're trying to compare and contrast kind of that therapeutic center point and the theological center point. And when I think about maybe what's underneath some of these things, I think there's a lot of different things. One, there is a frenetic climate that we live in. In other words, we're always go, 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 go. So then what is the reaction? I need to take time for myself and I deserve it, because we're not thinking in terms of God as being the owner of time. Like, in other words, we get to steward the time He's given us, but like if we are running ourselves ragged, and I think therein lies maybe some wisdom and discernment on how we choose how to use His time in a day.
That's right.
I think that's where the pendulum swings, at least for a lot of us, is like we give, and then we say we're empty. So then we get down to the dregs. And then we're like, whoa, way back over here. Now I need to take time for myself, and I deserve it because I have been serving everyone else. I think another thing that is underneath it really is just the idea of not understanding how God has made our bodies in the rhythm that He has given us, like the gift of Sabbath. Like he didn't say you were made to do everything, did He?
No. I mean, that's it. God has self-care in the Bible already. And it's called the Sabbath. And that's a gift we don't open. But we'll open that spa weekend with our girlfriends and leave our families behind in a minute. It's just, that just sounds more fun than a Sabbath rest. Sabbath seems antiquated. Sabbath seems like not much to rest, because if you're like me, I still have to cook and change diapers and all that. But I do feel like God wants us to have self-care. It's that we've taken it and stretched it into a selfish thing. And a way to get out of helping others, really. It's a good excuse now.
Oh, yeah. You can slap that on anything. And yeah, I think that we probably have reduced Sabbath to whether I get a nap or not on Sunday afternoon. But really, it is a posture of our heart. Of course, God rested in the garden. In the process of creation. I mean, if God needed to rest, I think we do too, right? Like He's made us have this rhythm, like we're made in His image. Yeah. And yet, why don't I want to rest? Even if I am still, maybe hosting somebody for a Sunday lunch or whatever. It's because ultimately, I think God needs my efforts. And I don't think I can acknowledge that, first of all, I'm not in control, and that I can lay something aside for whether it's an afternoon, a day, whether it's Sunday or another day of the week, depending. A lot of people who are listening are in ministry, so that gets a little challenging. But like there is a moment in our weekly rhythm where we acknowledge that God is God and we are not. And that by setting something aside, we're acknowledging that we trust in the providence of God and what He is doing.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah. And honestly, I also just think of this as I'm the type, and I think we talked about this last episode, maybe about how we're firstborn daughters, type A, like take care of like all this stuff. I think that I feel better when I'm busy, and when I rest, I've done this since childhood. When I rest, I start thinking. When I rest,
dangerous.
I start like maybe whatever. And so I tend to be busy and not want to rest. And so somebody like me actually needs to listen to the way God wants us to do self-care, because I'll run my body into the dirt. At least I did in my 20s and 30s. So I think that before sin, we had to rest. So why would we not need to do self-care while we were already created with a limited body, and now there's sin to deal with and hard jobs and weeds and family dynamics that are broken? Like, we're really needing a good old Sabbath type, like your soul rest,
Yeah. Soul rest. Yeah, that's so good. So whether we want to try to control things in the doing department, or I'm going to put forth another proposition that I think's underneath this kind of statement. I think we live in an anti-aging culture.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're trying to control how we age. Now, I'm not saying that we don't take care of the skin, which is the exterior part of the bodily creation that God has given us. However, there's so much of an anxiety over this that young girls are now, anxiously looking at skincare products when they're in middle school or high school. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think what's underneath that is we don't want to live for the end of the line, like I talk about all the time. Like, in other words, we actually are trying to cycle that back. Like, we are like, slow down. I don't want to age. And so there is a part of us that wants to try to control that continuum until we get to heaven by slowing it down, by focusing inward. I mean, is this too much of a stretch?
No. I think like self-care, we're talking about it as in terms of like time off, maybe ways to just say, hey, I'm going to stay at home and watch my show. And nothing's wrong with that. Like, I kind of need to do better at that, the way I'm wired. And beauty self-care tracks right beside it. And I have to admit, now that I'm 50, I think I'm 56 or 57. I always get confused. I think that it's becoming real now. Like, oh my goodness, like, my face is changing before my eyes. And when did that happen? And people are calling me ma'am all the time, who I thought we were like the same age. And I'm like, this is not working for me. And I just think about that verse when I'm doing that. I'm thinking about that verse I heard ad nauseum as a young girl in the church. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, what's the end of that?
She shall be praised.
She shall be praised. That's the part. Okay, now it's getting real. And frankly, I do not see that verse cross-stitched anywhere. No one's saying that on Instagram these days. And now I'm going, is it true? And is that enough for me? And was it always true? Because if it was never true and I was doing the stuff in middle school, my mama was letting me buy things in middle school, that does not, like that, that really embeds that message that beauty really is something that I need to invest in. Well, of course, everybody who reaches a certain age, no beauty product is going to keep those lines intact. And then you got, where do I have my value? Was it in how beautiful I was? Was it that I could walk into a room? Was it that everybody thought I was 10 years younger than that? My friend, I don't know what it is, but we do it. I know women do it. And so, again, I'm not saying do Botox, don't do Botox. I think also there's a probably in the Christian church part of it, there's this, if you do that, you're not godly. And I'm not going there. That's for each woman to decide where the line is. Is it coloring your hair or is it getting a facelift? I just don't know. Frankly, I definitely color my hair and I might still get a facelift at this rate, but right now I'm trying not to. And so I don't know. There's so much here that the world is screaming, and that world scream is in the church because our spiritual big sisters and mamas are not giving us that verse sometimes anymore. Or like when I see a woman that has aged beautiful, like just aged, I just want to go, how are you doing that? And can I talk to you? And how do you still make it in life? Doesn't that sound horrible? But that's kind of what I feel like our daughters are growing up in. And our granddaughters, that like, is that what we're telling them? We're saying a Bible verse, but we're really letting them invest in the temporary when we know when I die, who cares about my skin? I'm about to meet Jesus and he's going to give me a whole new body anyway. They'll last a lot longer than this one. And I can't wait to see what the BMI in heaven is. I've often thought, which style of body was it? Like the Ruben-esque women? Is that what we're going to look like? You know, the ones that are kind of plump and lazily eating stuff, or is it these little skinny winny things walking around? Like, I don't know. I can't wait to see what God's BMI is for us.
Yeah. And we won't care.
No, we won't care.
We will be worshiping God.
I know.
But this topic, we've just pulled a lot of different threads. And that's why it feels like one of those yarn balls where you have all the different threads coming out and you're like, where's the end here? So let's just, before we pivot here, we've talked about the difference between like a self-orientation and then also the idea of stewardship of that God is the owner. We are the stewards. It's his body, his time, his skin, we are stewards. We've talked about where we find our value. So is is it in externalizations or is it the inner person of the heart? What is going, so there's the contrast there as well. We've also talked about aging with grace in a way that is preparation for eternity versus like trying to run away from the reality of it. I'm getting ready to start tonight a teaching class on Ecclesiastes. So it's fresh on my brain.
Wow.
That part of wisdom, and that's where we'll pivot here, is not just that knowledge acquired, but the knowledge applied and living life backwards is what I'll say tonight. And so we live with the end in mind, and that changes the way that we live. So when we look in the mirror, or when we look at our calendar, or when we look at, how we are doing relationally with other people, we think, oh, this is temporal. I'm living in light of the end of the line. Yeah. And so that changes the way I prioritize where I'm going to invest. Yes. And is it going to go? And then here's the final thing. Is it going to go inward or only inward, or is it going outward? Like I think self-stewardship, when we steward our body, so if we need to rest, take care of our body, be healthy human beings, to what end?
Yeah.
Is it for us, or is it for God and other people?
Oh, well,
you think?
When it has to do with my face, it's definitely for me. I'm not even doing that for my husband. I'm just like, it's straight up selfish because I do not like it. But I do think, especially, I don't know what it is, and we're focusing on women in the church.
Yeah, women in the church.
So in the church, I feel like there is something that sometimes you can feel bad for saying, you know what? I can't go to prayer time at the church because that's the only day my exercise class is. And I do others. Like, people make legit choices because it's actually okay to exercise, to take care. Like, if I don't exercise, I get depressed. I get real edgy. I feel gross, and I'm just not going to be kind to others. And so that is selfish and is kind of good for people around me. But it's in moderation. I don't skip church to exercise. Like, it depends on the situation. And that's why we're not going to give you a rule of do Botox, don't do Botox, do by your daughter, whatever that elephant serum is that everybody says is so great. I don't know. All I know is I couldn't afford to get my daughter that. I couldn't afford to get it for myself. So anyway, I'm just saying we're not giving you rules, but find a woman who's godly, that you can say, how did you confess that sin? How did you wrestle with Jesus over it? And now I'm getting off the topic. You're going to rein me in again, Karen. But it's about the posture of the heart. And when I look in the mirror, I just say, Jesus, my value has to be in you, because my value in my looks is I can tell not going to be there. When I'm tempted to binge watch my show instead of talking to my child or my neighbor or taking a coffee with a friend who's struggling, that's a heart issue. I have to ask. And some days it will be, I can't, because I'm really on the edge. And sometimes it can be, yeah, I can. I just don't want to. So it really could change day to day. So there's no rule. And we love rules, like the Pharisees loved rules. And so I don't know. I just feel like both sides, the people who work, or exercise, and the people who sit on the couch and sleep in, they both need this thought process of wisdom for the decision they're making.
Right. And therein lies the key thing, Susan. So let's hold this up to the light. How can we have wisdom to know what God is calling us to do today in the realm of self-stewardship? So, and first, when we take apart that phrase, take time for yourself. You deserve it. If you were to say you deserve anything at my house, I mean, this might sound a little harsh, but my kids grew up, even when they were like 3, say, no, we deserve hell. But God, by his grace, redeemed us and is given us a place in his family. So like, we don't deserve anything. Right. And that, because we didn't want our kids to ever think, oh, well, if you like a meritocracy kind of, culture where you're trying to, like, if you work, you always get a trophy. Mm-hmm. Like, it always works out that way. Well, life in the fallen world doesn't always work out like that. Right. So, we don't deserve anything. Everything's grace. Right. And so, how do we walk in the way of wisdom, keeping God first, but then having wisdom about the overflow of that, of what that self-stewardship looks like? Are there any scriptures that guide you, Susan, or just even principles?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you just look at Jesus in the Gospels, you'll see a pattern of it. He would take time to spend time with his Father. He did self-care. He took a nap on that boat when they were all freaking out. He must have been exhausted to be sleeping through that, by the way. He did these things. He ate. Nobody here may have wanted his lifestyle, but he was doing the right kind of self-care. And when he was interrupted every time, he served. And he leaned outward instead of, I'm the king of the world and I need a nap. Like, he had the right to say it and he didn't. So if I'm looking for a pattern, first of all, it's the Sunday school answer. We kind of look at Jesus's pattern and then the other verse, I guess, is the whole summary of the law of loving God, but basically love God, love others. And this reminds me, I was such a VBS lover as a child. And I remember one time in our church, I think it was Mrs. Weaver who brought these buttons. And all the buttons said, me third. And now this is where it feels a little like I was a little nervous and I felt legalistic. But she wanted us to wear them to school until someone asked us what it meant. And that made me I don't know about that. But anyway, I'm not going there. All I'm saying is I wore this button and we were all wearing these buttons that said me third. And the question would be, what is that about? And you would say, God first, you second, me third. And I think a lot of times I've misunderstood what it meant to have God first with self-care. So, but that's the priority list that kind of God's given us through his example is God first, his glory, helping others, loving them. And then, and it's not that we get the leftovers and we're like limping along. It's just, it's that priority that grid you have to think through every occasion.
Right.
Because sometimes serving God first means I let him take care of that person. And I don't do it out of guilt or fear or pressure. And that's me worshiping God first. And sometimes it's, no, I just want to binge watch that show.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just proud of you that you wore that button to school, public school, where you were like, okay, I wonder what somebody's going to say to me. But anyway, yeah.
I was not a good evangelist material.
But you're excited about VBS, which
I love a colorful button though.
Yeah. Well, there's so much about all the things that you share here on the podcast that you were just like a VBS junkie growing up. So that kind of tells a little bit about both of us. But yeah, I mean, you landed on it, Susan. I mean, it's our chief end to glorify God. So the question is what I'm doing, can I say this will glorify God? And I think the wisdom lies in there and the discernment lies in there, of what it looks like if the writer of Proverbs says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean on your own understanding of everything. Like, in other words, God's ways are higher.
Yeah.
In all your ways, acknowledge him. So again, this is something you probably learned in Vacation Bible School.
I was going to say, I think that was a song.
And he will make straight your paths, right?
Yeah.
So, and don't be wise in your own eyes. And so that wisdom is, it begins with the fear of the Lord.
Yes.
When you think about Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So fearing to do anything that would not glorify God. I mean, fearing to do anything that wouldn't delight God, that he couldn't say, I am well pleased with. And so it's fearing him not in a way that, makes us want to necessarily cower, but in awe and worship and reverence. And I think for me, what's underneath a lot of this wanting to demand what I deserve, so to speak, is there's two things. There's pride and anxiety. Mm-hmm. So pride is like, you better be able to, give me the glory. I want to get the glory and the praise and the applause. And I deserve whatever I determine, my truth or what I deserve is, as in the other episodes that we've talked about. But the other thing, and I think this is the one that's a little bit harder to see because it can be a little more subtle, is anxiety. And that has its roots in me wanting to control, but I'm anxious about tomorrow.
Yeah.
So whatever that tomorrow is, so the what ifs of life, like if I don't take care of myself right now because I deserve it, then what if, this happens? And so the anxiety of worrying about tomorrow instead of resting in the today, the dailiness, the daily bread provision of today, when we look in the book of John the book of Matthew, when in the Sermon on the Mount, he says, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Don't be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. In other words, I'm constantly trying to store up the things that, in that time that I deserve, store up so that I have a storehouse to face the anxieties of tomorrow instead of trusting. So I'm always trying, but not trusting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And if you tie it even to the idea we talked about earlier, a Sabbath, if you look in Exodus, or which I think it's Exodus, when they had the manna and it fell every day except, Saturday then, I almost said Sunday. But he gave them twice as much and it would keep, but some people didn't trust God with that. And they were doing what you said, like, I better create my own margin, my own savings account, my own, like where I have control, I will not go hungry and my kids are going to be okay, or my mother's going to be okay. Like, it was control. And all of that manna got worms in it, which is even worse than being hungry. Now you got to clean out wormy stuff. And so I think that principle of what we tend to do as sinners is still true. It's just if it's time, like if I look at my list of my to-do list and it's like, and I'm literally like going, do I not work today? Because it would feel so good to get something done. Like I even talk myself into, I think I'll rest better if I maybe get all that laundry ironed that's been hanging around for a month. Or I think I'll rest better if I just take care of this at work. Or I have to really, like the last time I did this, I had to go, no, what I need to trust God with is that like doing it today is not going to help tomorrow. Because what I've found to be true is when I have rested, the list isn't as long as I thought it was on Monday. It felt really overwhelming on Sunday. But when I really just rested and didn't think about it and just got to Monday, I was like, actually, it only took me 3/4 of the day. I don't know why I was so worried yesterday. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know what your relationship is with rest. But same thing with beauty. Same thing with I better over-exercise so I have a little more calories to gain at Christmas. I don't know. I'm always thinking of ways out of my anxiety to get ahead and protect myself. And that means I'm the source of my margins. I'm the source of my solutions. And I'm not letting the God who is unlimited, he doesn't have a body like I do. He doesn't have to rest. It says he never sleeps. Why am I not trusting the person who doesn't have to sleep? I'm trusting things like they used to chop up a tree and burn half of it and worship the other half. I'm doing that, but with myself and with other idols. I'm not chopping down a tree.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I could segue out of that one, but.
And you know what? We may have just lost half our listeners going, what is she talking about?
I definitely know what you were talking about. How can I segue that to how we close? The question is, what would it look like if we would believe what we've just been talking about? Like we actually were dependent on God. We embraced our finiteness and worshiped his infinite nature. I mean, for me, I would truly believe that life, again, here I am in Ecclesiastes, so I've been reading it a lot. The life under the sun, whether I'm ironing that laundry or, checking emails, I don't know what it is, life under the sun for you, that mundane parts of life, it is a vapor. It is ephemeral. It is brief. It's like sand that slips through our fingers. And so why would I worry about tomorrow when today is what he's given? And so I think it would change the way I was present today and that I stewarded today because I'm not promised tomorrow. And so I think it might change the way that I live this week if I didn't always feel like I need to have a 5-year plan. For everything in my life.
And for all your people too. That's what I do. Yep. Or what I may want to do. I think that's a really good application of that. I think that I'd be relaxed more. I think I wouldn't spend so much energy thinking instead of just being, because I'm constantly, the way I handle stress is to plan myself into a better position. And I think it's a line. I think some things are legit ways to calm down and deal. And, I tend to get things done. I don't like procrastinating because I hate the feeling of being stuck at the last minute because I've been there a lot. And that cured me of that when I had 3 kids, I had to regroup. But I don't know. I think I would just be able just to, like you said, be present, but also just go, it's going to work out. Like if it needs to work out, it's going to work out. And you know what? If God, if I have the flu and I can't do it, he's going to still do his plan A. It's just the world doesn't revolve around me. And you know what? It's my turn to get old. Other people were getting old when I was young and a teenager. It's my turn. And you know what? Why am I shocked? This was always told us, I just think I would relax more. And if I relax more, I'll have more joy in the things that I will still have joy in forever. That's the other thing is sometimes this may be a mind trick, but if I think about myself dying in a bed, what will I be I'm taking with me? It would be the relationships. It would be my relationship with Jesus. and I don't know. I just think this is my bottom line thought. Life is like high school. And whether you had a great high school experience or a crummy one, it is a long time ago now, but it felt like it lasted forever. And all those priorities were very shared by everyone and concrete to you, and it ruled your world. And then you go to your 10 class reunion and go, why was I scared of her? Why did I want to go out with him? Why did I feel like a loser? Why didn't I go sit with people I didn't know at the cafeteria, but ate my lunch in the locker room instead because I was scared? Like, that's what life is. You're going to look back and go, what was the big deal? And I wasted it. So I don't know. Maybe that'll resonate with you, but also some of us I had a great high school. But anyway, you get my point.
I get your point. And ladies, what you have just seen as Exhibit A in Susan Tyner's life is wisdom. Wisdom is that knowledge applied that gives you perspective. It's like that rear view window perspective, but also your windshield perspective as you move forward through life. So no matter where you are, I hope that you can exhale and rest this week, that God is on the throne. He is in control, and he has written the end of the story, and he has written himself a part in it, and he's written you a part in it. And that story is playing itself out right now. Rest, enjoy, and glorify God in the midst of that story. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Encourage Podcast.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Encourage Podcast, where we have one aim: to bring the hope of the gospel to the hearts of women. We've planned this year full of exciting connections, and we don't want you to miss a single one. So stay connected with us on our website, women.pcacdm.org. Consider sharing this episode with a friend and keep the conversation going. Or even better, giving to CDM so we can make this podcast available to women all over the world. The Encourage Podcast is a production of CDM, the discipleship ministry of the PCA.